Number 4, right away we want to notice two really important features of this argument, the words since and. Since is a premise indicator and tells us two things. The sentence that follows since is a premise, and the sentence that precedes it is the conclusion. The word and, when it's joining two complete sentences that can stand on their own, is functioning essentially like an addition symbol, and it's telling us that these two sentences are performing the same function. So if the sentence that comes before and is a premise, the sentence that follows and will also be a premise. I chose the terms of this argument: cases of AIDS, infections easily curable by drugs, and diseases that infect the brain, represented by the letter CID. If you chose different letters to represent these terms, you want to do a quick cross-reference between my letters and yours so that you can see if your argument looks like mine. Using these letters to represent the argument symbolically, we have all D or non-I. All non-D are non-C, therefore no C or I. We've got too many terms, so we want to use conversion, inversion, and contraposition to reduce down the number of terms to 3. We can do that really easily with the first premise by simply obverting it. When we invert all D or non-I, we get the statement no D or I, which is logically equivalent. And we look at the second premise, and if we contrapose that, we're going to get all C or D, and now we have our argument in standard form. And we can mark all of our distributed terms to see if this satisfies the 5 rules for standard form categorical syllogisms. The middle term has to be distributed at least one time, and D is our middle term, and it's distributed right here in the first premise. If there's anything distributed in the conclusion, and there is, C and I, they've also got to be distributed in premises, and they both are, so we're good there. Premise number 2 says, rule number 3 says you can't have 2 negative premises, and we don't. And rule number 4 says if you have a negative premise, you have to have a negative conclusion, and we do. And rule number 5 doesn't apply because we don't have a particular conclusion. That would seem to indicate that this argument is valid, and if it is, that should be reflected in a Venn diagram. So when we mark no D or I, areas 3 and 4, and all C or D, areas 5 and 6, we leave area 2 as the only area where any C can be. And we notice that area 2 is outside of the I circle. So all the C's that exist here, and they are not I's. And that is exactly what the conclusion statement says. And when we consult our inventory of unconditionally valid forms, we see the form of this argument, EAE in figure 1, right there, confirming for us that this is an unconditionally valid argument.